Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into Rolf Dobelli's fantastic book, The Art of Thinking Clearly. We're going to uncover those hidden mental traps that cause all of us to make bad decisions, and more importantly, how you can start to spot them.
All right, so let's just jump right in with a big question. One I think we've all asked ourselves. You try to be logical, you weigh the pros and cons, but you still end up making a choice you totally regret. Why on earth does this happen so often?
Well, according to Dobelli, the answer is kind of wild. Our brains are basically hardwired with these invisible glitches, these mental traps that silently guide us away from sound judgment. So in this explainer, we're going to put a spotlight on these traps so you can start to sidestep them for good.
So, first up, thinking's hidden traps. We're going to uncover those invisible glitches in your mind. Think of it like this. We're popping the hood on your own mental operating system to find the predictable bugs that always seem to trip you up. Now, the official term for these glitches is cognitive bias. And the key word you really have to remember here is systematic. These aren't random errors, not at all. They are predictable patterns. See, our brain uses these shortcuts to save energy, but the trade-off is huge. We end up sacrificing logic for speed.
All right, let's dive into our most common glitches. We're going to take a quick tour of the mind's favorite mistakes. Now, while there are dozens of these biases, we're going to focus on a few of the biggest ones, the mind's absolute go-to errors.
First on our tour is survivorship bias. And oh man, this one is a big deal. We see the college dropouts who became billionaires or the bands that finally made it big, and we think, that's the blueprint. But what we're completely missing is the vast, invisible graveyard of failures. The thousands, even millions who took the exact same path and got absolutely nowhere. I mean, this quote says it all. We're bombarded with stories of success. But for every single triumphant rock star you see on a huge stage, there are thousands of equally talented musicians out there playing to nearly empty bars. When we only focus on that one survivor, we get a totally warped and wildly optimistic view of our own odds. Next up is the availability bias. Our brain loves this simple but really flawed rule of thumb. If I can remember it easily, it must be important. This is exactly why a dramatic shark attack on the news scares us more than the statistically much higher risk of a car accident. A vivid story will beat boring old data every single time. And now we come to what might be the mother of all biases, confirmation bias. Basically, our brain acts like a biased lawyer. It's not interested in the truth. It's actively hunting for any scrap of evidence that supports what we already believe, while totally ignoring anything that might contradict it. This is the reason it's so incredibly hard to change our own minds. And just think about how these two team up against you. It's brutal. Survivorship bias gets you going by showing you only the winners, making you overestimate your chances. Then, confirmation bias steps in and helps you cherry-pick only the information that supports that rosy picture. It's a powerful 1-2 punch that knocks rational thinking right out. So you might think, okay, simple. The answer is just to get more information, right? Well, not so fast. Dobelli warns us about something he calls analysis paralysis. Sometimes drowning yourself in data doesn't bring clarity. It just creates more confusion. Because thanks to confirmation bias, you'll probably just find more proof for what you wanted to do anyway. More noise, not more insight. Now, beyond these mental shortcuts, there's another major saboteur of our thinking, our own emotions. Let's talk about when emotion takes over and how our feelings can hijack our reason. Because when feelings get in the driver's seat, logic gets thrown right out the window. I mean, just look at this battle for your decision. When powerful emotions like intense fear or stubborn pride are in the mix, our calm, rational mind just doesn't stand a chance. It gets totally overwhelmed. Fear can make us sell stocks at the absolute worst time. Pride can keep us from ever admitting we made a mistake. Our feelings are powerful motivators for sure, but they are terrible strategists. The point here is not to become some kind of emotionless robot. That's not the goal at all. The real key is just awareness. The single most important first step to making smarter choices is learning to pause and ask yourself, wait a minute, am I thinking logically or are my emotions pulling the strings right now? Okay, so we've identified a lot of problems. let's shift gears and talk about some solutions. This section is all about the power of distance and some simple strategies to improve your judgment. Dobelli gives us some wonderfully practical advice here, and it all revolves around this one core idea. So, how do we create this mental distance? 3 key steps. First, try to think like an outsider. What advice would you give a friend in this exact situation? It's a neat trick that instantly strips away your ego. Second, just pause. Enforce a mandatory waiting period before you react or decide. Even an hour can be enough for an emotional storm to pass. And third, you have to actively fight your own certainty by asking the toughest question of all. What would it take to prove me wrong? So let's put this all together. We're going to bundle these core ideas into your very own clearer thinking toolkit. These are the key takeaways you can start using immediately for a wiser and hopefully much calmer life. Here it is. 4 simple rules. First, just spot the bias. Knowing these traps exist is half the battle. Second, check your emotions. Always ask if fear or pride is in the driver's seat. Third, when the stakes are high, seek distance. Pause and think like an outsider. And fourth, value clarity over data. Don't fall into analysis paralysis. Focus on quality insight, not just the quantity of information. Ultimately, it all boils down to this powerful idea from Dobelli. This is not just some intellectual exercise, no way. The quality of our thinking directly shapes the quality of our outcomes. In our careers, our finances, our relationships. Clearer thinking really does lead to a better life. So, I want to leave you with a question to chew on. As you go through your week, or maybe as you think about a big decision you've been wrestling with, what's one choice you can now rethink using this new toolkit? I really hope this explainer gave you some valuable tools for your mental toolbox. If it helped you think just a little bit more clearly, then do us a favor and hit that like button and drop a comment below. I would love to know, which one of these biases do you think you fall for the most? And of course, make sure you subscribe to the explainer so you don't miss more deep dives that make the complex simple. Thanks for watching and keep thinking clearly.